It is Throwback Thursday, time to dive into our vast CBC archives. You may have noticed some unique signage on Lougheed Highway or near the Ironworkers Memorial Bridge. It says, "Welcome to Vancouver, a nuclear weapons-free zone." If you've wondered why our city is announcing its lack of nukes, it dates back to the 70s and 80s when a social movement supporting nuclear disarmament grew globally as nations raced to acquire the weapons. An annual peace march against nukes also happened here. Take a look.
1, 2, 3, 4. We say no to nuclear war. 5, 6, 7, 8. We don't want to radiate. No nukes! No nukes! No!
2,000 anti-nuclear demonstrators marched through the streets of Vancouver today. Last year, double that number surfaced for the giant rally. But although there were fewer protesters this year, their commitment to live in a nuclear-free world and to end the proliferation of nuclear power and armaments has grown.
Oh, sinner man, where you gonna run to? Oh, sinner man, where you gonna run to?
At Sunset Beach, the marchers settled down to listen to scores of speakers, all delivering the same message, that the nuclear connection, including uranium mining, nuclear reactors, atomic weapons, and nuclear warfare, holds the world hostage for extinction.
If I came up to you and put 4 tons of dynamite in your basement, you would freak out. You wouldn't let me do it. Now, if I was from the government and I came and put 4 tons of dynamite in your basement, you would move heaven and earth. You would talk to every politician you could talk to get that dynamite out of your basement. Well, the bombs that they've built are so powerful that they don't have to put it in your basement, but it's there. It's over in Comox. And unless people are prepared to face that reality that we all have 4 tons of dynamite in our basements and it can go off at any time, then nothing is going to change.
Among the supporters were scientists, physicians, feminists, politicians, and the president of BC's Fishermen's Union. For all, the nuclear connection is a frightening one.
Well, I think that a nuclear war would be very, very sudden and very, very devastating. But AMAX is something the same thing, only it takes a longer time for its full effects to be felt.
Down by the bay, where nothing grows.
The demonstration ended peacefully, but anti-nuke supporters vow they'll return next year and every year until nuclear proliferation ends. Genevieve Westcott, CBC News, Vancouver.
Joining us now to discuss how the anti-nuclear movement has waned over the years is M.V. Ramana, a professor from the UBC School of Public Policy and Global Affairs, as well as the Simons Chair in Disarmament, Global and Human Security. Ramana, right now, with so many conflicts happening...
Yeah, the risk of nuclear war has become worse in some ways than it was during the period when these people were marching in Vancouver. One measure of the risk of nuclear war is something called the doomsday clock that the Bulletin of the Atomic Scientists and its Science and Security Board sets. And that is supposed to give you an indication of how close we are to disaster, and disaster being nuclear war. And this number has increased and decreased and gone closer to midnight and gone away from midnight as the risks became greater and smaller. So to give this some perspective, in 1981, when the people were marching, that was the beginning of the buildup under US President Ronald Reagan. And that was the reason why many people were concerned. At that time, the bulletin's doomsday clock was set at 4 minutes to midnight. Now, that's just a metaphorical number. It's not there's actually a physical clock there, but that's the metaphorical number. Today, the same time to midnight is set at 90 seconds. And so you can see it's considered to be far more risky by the Science and Security Board. Now,
just to clarify, if I may, what is the main cause of that? And I would suggest, is it the tension after Russia invaded Ukraine?
Well, there are sort of 2 or 3 sources of tension here. The first is the actual conflicts that are happening around the world, including Russia invasion of Ukraine. But there are also parallel developments in the United States, in China, in all of the countries that possess nuclear weapons. all of them are modernizing their arsenals, investing in these weapons for the long future, which means that none of them are planning to actually disarm themselves. And as long as nuclear weapons are around, there is always going to be the risk of nuclear war. And of course, nuclear war is going to be catastrophic if it happens.
Going back to these peace marches that we saw from 1981 to 1986, how has public opinion on weaponry changed since that time, do you think?
Yeah, so that's a very interesting question. There are, depending on what kind of poll you're looking at, you're going to get different kinds of answers. But if you're asking the question from the viewpoint of people coming out to demonstrate, people who feel that the threat is so great that they should invest their time and their energy going and making the governments know their opinion, then it has definitely waned since then. You don't see these kind of large marches on nuclear weapons. You see them in climate change, you see them in issues like Black Lives Matter, but you don't see these large marches coming together to protest nuclear weapons anymore. And that's because I think a lot of people seem to think that the danger from nuclear weapons has disappeared now that we are past the Cold War. The attack on Ukraine has kind of rekindled some of that, but there are so many other things that are still going on at the same time, including the bombardment of Gaza and the ongoing genocide there, that people are concerned about a whole range of different things as well. So nuclear weapons does not reach the same level of salience that it did in the 1980s.
MV Ramana, a professor from the UBC School of Public Policy and Global Affairs. We appreciate your time and your perspective. Thank you very much.
Thank you for bringing up this very important topic.